there a test that can help you determine, Mr. Forensic Person, that when a drug was placed on an item or who had placed it there? Can you tell me who put it there? Does your machine tell you that? Romig said, well, nothing I've reviewed would indicate that Hunter was a distributor of drugs. No way, are you kidding? Not giving that stuff out. Are you nuts? It's for him. He's a pure consumer. He was cooking it himself. She didn't respond until much later, closer to 2 a.m., and said she had fallen asleep earlier. Hunter then responded, asking if her now husband, Peter, could bring the truck back to 57th and 5th to swap cars. What on earth? Why? At 2 in the morning? Hunter Biden trial continues, but the prosecution rests. The evidence has been presented, and they have dropped the motherlode. We got videos, we got photos, we got artist renderings of Hunter's nipples being shown to the jury. We got audio recordings. Hunter spoke in his own words from his own audiobook that he was a drug addict during the time that he purchased this gun and marked the form erroneously, illegally breaking the law. So we're going to get updates on what is happening in this trial. The question is all of that evidence enough? Is all of that material? We also have eyewitness testimony. We had Hallie Biden come in. She testified previously that there was a romantic relationship between these two. She threw the gun away. She explained about the drug addiction and how this whole scene unfolded. But prosecutors today are bringing more people, including a forensic chemist. Remember, there was cocaine on the outside of the gun pack, and a DEA supervisory agent to come in and talk about Hunter's code language. Now, the jury yesterday heard a bunch of dramatic testimony. Hallie Biden explained the drug addiction. She also got addicted, and explained how she was the person who found the gun and threw it in the garbage can before the other gentleman found it and called the cops. We're now on day 5 of the trial. Prosecutors are going to rest their case, and they did. Then Abbe Lowell thinks he's going to call a couple other witnesses. It depends on what happens with the prosecutor, but we'll see. On Tuesday, Naomi Biden, Hunter Biden's daughter, is also on the witness list, so we'll see if she gets called. So the day starts to unfold. Joe Biden gave a bizarre interview yesterday where he was sitting with David Muir, and when asked if he would pardon his son, would you rule out a pardon for your son? Joe Biden said, yes, I would. Yeah, right, we'll see. Maybe because they know the outcome is already rigged. Asked if he would accept the outcome of the jury trial, he says yes, because it's already rigged. This is the point we've been making here. Some people on Fox News named Trey are making stupid points like, well, this case just shouldn't be brought because a gun charge is a ridiculous gun charge, and I'm for fairness. We say, hey, Trey, if you're for fairness, why don't you want even more charges to come then? This is nothing. This is a traffic ticket for a major homicide type of crime. So what we want is equal standards of the law, so we should actually be adding more charges, not less. So the point is, Joe Biden knows it's been rigged from the inception. They're going to trial on a gun charge because it was part of a rigged plea deal that Hunter rejected, like a moron. The plea deal was already rigged. He rejected it. They had to go forward on the charge that was in the plea. So Hunter arrives at court, 8:39 in the morning. We think mommy might be with him today. Let's see. First Lady Jill in court. Now, she flew in special from Normandy, from Paris. And here's the report on this, and that's your dollars, America. Your taxpayer dollars paying for this. She's traveling around with Secret Service in tow, flying all over the world, back here to trial for her crackhead son.
The First Lady's office only says that the First Lady is coming to Wilmington essentially for one day. I've asked for clarification to see if perhaps she could be called as a character witness. No guidance at all. We just know that she's going to be in Wilmington tomorrow. That's as far as her office would say, but it's notable that she's leaving France to come to Wilmington for a day, then she's going back to France.
Wow. Man, it's nice to be Queen First Lady. You just get whatever you want done. And so she shows up there. Hunter needs his mommy there. Even though Hunter called her a vindictive C, very rude and misogynistic. Where is President Biden today? Well, he was this morning with Vladimir Zelensky. Biden is expected to deliver remarks later with Army Rangers, and then I think he's going later today to a fundraising event with George Clooney. So the trial is started. Government prosecutors call Dr. Jason Brewer to the stand. Jason Brewer says when he's questioned, do you promise to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but truth? I do. So he's going to come out. He's going to talk about that leather pouch that was riddled with cocaine residue. His opinion that the residue was cocaine is going to be based on examination and testing. Should be pretty simple testimony. Valerie Biden Owens, Joe's sister, and her husband spent the minutes before court starting today hand in hand. So Joe's sister and her husband were locking hands, and sometimes her husband, Jack Owens, had his arm over her shoulders. She was wearing black sunglasses inside, like she's at a funeral. Friends and family took up more than 2 rows of the courtroom gallery. They're stacking the rows. Jill Biden, Melissa Cohen Biden, who verbally assaulted our friend Garrett Ziegler, called him a Nazi, even though he's a constitutional scholar and hero. Kevin Morris, the sugar daddy for Joe. Valerie Biden Owens and Jack Owens were among those in the court. Defense lawyer Abbe Lowell walked into the courtroom. He spent a few minutes chatting with Valerie. He says, "You have an amazing family. The Bidens stick together." When Hunter Biden walked in, he kissed his wife, the verbal assaulter, before heading to the defense table and sat down. Who is Jason Brewer? Well, this guy worked at the FBI lab in Quantico, Virginia for 20 years. He's a forensic examiner in the FBI's chemistry unit, these guys. He has testified about 25 times as an expert. He said he's examined thousands of items over his career. That's the person who's going to be testifying. Now, he's on the stand. He's sworn in. He starts to communicate. He says, "Yeah, I found a white powder in Hunter Biden's pouch. I wonder if it was the same variety that they found in the White House. And it tested positive for cocaine." So Judge Norica qualifies Brewer as an expert. Then Leo Weiss handed him the brown leather patch. "Is this the pouch you confirmed that you examined?" He says, "Yeah, this is the one." "Can you tell me what you found when you did your examination?" He says, "I found a minimal amount of white powder, both in and on the pouch." "Is there a test that can help you determine, Mr. Forensic Person, that when a drug was placed on an item or who had placed it there? Can you tell me who put it there? Does your machine tell you that?" No, there's not. We can't tell how it got there. We can just examine what it is, and we put it through our analysis and determine what it is to specify. Weiss introduced photos into evidence that showed a zoomed in view of the trace amounts of the white powder. "Did you take this photo?" "Yes, I did." "What does it show?" "Well, that's zoomed in at 100x. Brewer then explained to the jury about the two different tests that he ran on the powder to determine what it was. "So I took a sample with a swab, I put it in my analysis in my tube, and so I came out and spit it, and a gas chromatography and mass spectrometry came out and said cocaine was identified within the residual white powder that I sampled." Gasps in the courtroom. "Oh, probably not. Everybody knows he's a crackhead cocaine." You're like, "Yeah, that's what we thought." Everybody's like, "Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, he's Hunter." Okay, so what else would it be? Like pixie dust or something? No, it's obviously cocaine. So a forensic chemist says lab tests were done years after the gun incident. So then the defense lawyer comes out. He's like, "So you did the test?" "Yeah." "And when did you do the test?" Like, "I don't know, 2023. "Oh, so you found the gun in 2018, but then you got it in 2023. "Oh, so he says, okay, he conducted the cross-examination. This is the first one that Abbe Lowell didn't do. Kalansky tried to convey 2 points. He says, there's basically nothing on there. So how much was it? He says, "Oh, not much, just a small amount." So it was minimal. Yeah, it was minimal. I mean, it was like a whole, brick of Coke or anything. No, it was residue on the pouch. And the first lab test was done in October 2023. 5 years? He said, "Oh, so it was on there for 5 years, just baking in there or something?" Incident after the charges had been filed in this case. Brewer confirmed that no test had been done before October 2023 to my knowledge. "Oh, so you can't date when the residue got there, right? Or you can't date who put it there, can you?" "No, I can't." And there's also some chain of custody issues. Remember that when we transfer evidence, it has to be documented from who it goes to whom. So from A to B, from B to C, from C to D, we have to have chronology and documentation to show the transfers. So he says, "Well, what is this for?" He says, "It came in strictly for chemistry exams. That's what my work order was." Said of the patch, admitting, "No, I didn't do any DNA and I didn't do any fingerprint testing on the pouch either." He said, so he could not identify when the cocaine residue got into the pouch, who put it there, or how long it had been there. So maybe, in other words, the Coke was there before Hunter even got it, before it was in the possession, or maybe it was after it was thrown into the trash can. Maybe there's other cocaine in the trash can. Maybe the guy who fished it out of the trash can had some cocaine on his person or at his house. So the cocaine has nothing to do with it, even though Hunter is basically emanating cocaine from his pores, sitting there on the defense table. Prosecution then finishes with the forensic examiner. Next witness comes out is Joshua Romig. He's from the DEA. "Mr. Romig, you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so God?" "I do." "Can you tell us about your experience as a DEA?" "Yeah, I'm a bureaucrat at the DEA. Investigate a bunch of stuff that's mostly not important." "What are your experiences with drug investigations?" He says, "Well, they're pretty much all I've done for the last quarter century." He says, "I've had a career investigating drug cases. First for the Baltimore Police Department, now at the DEA. We want to target the high-level drug traffickers at the DEA." I'm sure they do. And they continue. They ask him about the difference between crack and cocaine. "Can you tell us the difference between these two?" He says, "Sure. Yeah, crack is a more easily smokable form of cocaine," explaining that crack is actually more pure than powder cocaine because the cooking process removes any of the cutting agents the dealers may have added to increase the bulk of the cocaine. So we're refining it a bit and smoking it. Wow. He says, "Well, you're familiar. You've done these investigations for 25, 30 years. And you know how drug dealers use coded language, don't they?" "Yes, they do." "Now, I want to ask you about this coded language. When Hunter was using this phrase in this text message that you recognize, you see, yes, I'm part of Miami. He says the phrase baby powder. What does that mean in drug terminology? He says, well, generally when crackheads are referring to baby powder, they're using a rudimentary, pretty standard cocaine code. And what does party favor mean? DEA says generally it means drugs. So he finished it up with Romig. He's showing him various text messages of Hunter. Does that sound like crack to you? Yeah. Hey, here's a photo, Mr. DEA. Does that look like crack to you? Yeah. Here's a video of Hunter smoking crack. Does it look like he's smoking crack to you? Yeah. He identified crack pipes, crack cocaine, scales in the photo, videos. Does that look like a pound of coke there? Yeah, pretty much. Romig has provided lots of explanations to the jury on the drug terms and what's exactly in the photos. In one of the text and evidence, the word fentanyl comes up. What does fentanyl mean? Hines asked what that meant. Romig said it's a reference to fentanyl, the most dangerous drug in America today, which is absolutely true, no joke. So that all comes out, and now we get more testimony. I want to ask you about this message referring to $600 for 10 grams of crack cocaine. Is that market rate? He said Hunter texted a picture of a white substance on a scale. He said, under any value known to any market in the world, what I paid is 60% greater, says Hunter. You ripped me off. Clearly upset that the amount is much less than he paid for, says Romig. Yeah, he wanted more crack. He says $600 for 10 grams is pretty significantly higher than the fair market value. He's like, Hunter got ripped off. He said sellers 100% size up what buyers are willing to pay. So it depends how cracked out they are. How bad do you want this, man? Romig also told the court that he's been watching the proceedings from the overflow room, and he's been listening to the other prosecution witnesses who've testified about Hunter Biden's drug use. And because he's an expert witness, we give them a little bit more leeway because they're going to comment on some of the evidence. DEA agent acknowledges he's not involved in this case. So Abbe Lowell then hops up with cross-examination, and he asks him, he says, well, I'd like if I can, in the time I'm here to talk about this case and not just generalities. You don't know anything about this case, do you? You're just here talking about general drug terms and stuff. This was Prosecutor Hines who just brought him in to talk about drug use in America. Romig said, well, nothing I've reviewed would indicate that Hunter was a distributor of drugs. No way. Are you kidding? Not giving that stuff out. Are you nuts? It's for him. He's a pure consumer. He wasn't cooking it himself. I didn't look into anybody in this investigation. I did not do anything as a DEA agent regarding this case. He's solely as an expert to comment on the evidence, didn't actually to interpret the evidence for the jurors. This is a crack pipe. How do I know? 25 years DEA experience. Did I go take a picture of that crack pipe? No. Did I go invest? No, I didn't. But this is what I know based on my experience. So the prosecution now rests. Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Romig. No further questions. Prosecution rests their case, but we continue now. And Abbe Lowell for the defense calls the first two witnesses, reveals who they will be. First witness is Jason Turner, a one-time employee at the gun shop in Wilmington, Delaware, who was involved in selling Hunter the gun. The second witness is going to be the owner of the gun shop and the survival supply. So they're going to try to put these two guys on trial, make them the bad guys. Oh, so you didn't follow your instructions. You should have told Hunter this. You basically Me Too'd him into purchasing the gun. You took his hand out, you put yours into his hand, and you made him squeeze it, didn't you? And you said, you're going to like it, Hunter. And he says, I guess I'll buy it. So James Biden now shows up, the other bagman for the Biden crime family. Uncle of Hunter and brother of President Biden has arrived at the courthouse. Now the defense case starts. Abbe Lowell made oral motion for a judgment of acquittal. He came out, Your Honor, this is ridiculous. They haven't presented any evidence by which a jury can conclude that my client is guilty. The standard has not been met. And so you should find my client acquitted based on the sham evidence that's been presented here today, and says it hasn't been enough. Listing as his reasons, he says it's all unconstitutional. Second Amendment guarantees the right to bear arms. This law is unconstitutional as charged. 3 reasons why. And he says the Supreme Court's also going to make a ruling on this, and this could undermine the entire statute. And so this entire case should be thrown out right now immediately. Judge says, no, I'm not going to do that. Moving on. Please call your first witness. They did. Your Honor, Abbe Lowell says, we call Jason Turner, the StarQuest Shooters employee who handled the background check on the ATF form, to the stand. He takes the bench at 11:12 in the morning. Testimony continues. Here is a thread from Naomi Biden. She posted that September 2023. Okay, so here we go. Naomi Biden, Hunter's eldest daughter, shows up. She's going to testify. She's spoken out in defense of her father before, says he's a man of love, integrity, and human struggles when he's not backhanding prostitutes from Russia. In a series of social media posts before the 2020 election, when his name was in the news, she said, the pain he's endured would be enough to make a lesser man give up on life. Oh gosh, get a room. Maybe they have. Employees of gun store who ran Hunter Biden's background check is now on the stand. Jason Turner said that the responsibilities at the gun store, he's on the stand. He says, yeah, I was the key holder. That's what I did. I ran the NICS system and I sold the firearms. Question, did you realize Hunter was in the store? Did you realize it was Hunter Biden? He says, no, I didn't realize it was him until the background check was brought to him in the back office. He says, Hunter Biden's here. Oh, interesting. Yeah, let me do the check. When Cleveland brought Turner the paperwork, it was an ATF form that had yet to be signed by Hunter, and they brought a copy of Hunter's passport. So yeah, I was in the back. So they brought me the form. They brought me his passport. I was going to start doing it. Turner said he wouldn't have logged into the NICS system unless he reviewed the form that was fully filled out first. So when he saw it was not, he took the copy and the passport back to the sales counter and he explained to Gordon Cleveland what else was needed. I said, no. You're missing the supplemental ID and the signature. So you got to fill it out. Turner then testified that he never during this interaction spoke to Hunter himself. He says, nope, I just went back up to Gordon, the guy who was handling the interaction, told him, can't access it. You're missing this and this. Fill it out. As he questioned Turner, Lowell asked what alternate form of ID Hunter provided to complete the background check. This was needed because passports don't have a home address, which is required. So Biden went out and provided a car registration, Turner said. Wow, it really feels like Hunter was forced into this. He was dragged around and made to buy this gun like a Me Too victim. So he walked out. He's like, what else do you need? Car registration? Sure, let me go get it. Lowell then highlighted a box on Biden's 4473 form where any alternate form of ID provided is supposed to be entered. That box is blank. When I wrote that out, I wrote car registration, Turner said. Car registration? Well, where is it? Where is the car registration? He says, it's not there, an exasperated Turner said. The smoking gun! We're missing the car registration. Oh, so you completed the form, but you're missing part of the record. So you didn't complete it out appropriately, did you? Turner generally seemed annoyed during his time on the stand. He was talking over Lowell. He was providing snarky responses. Lowell then drilled down on a 16-minute gap between the time that Hunter's background check was completed when the final sale was processed. So he recreates the entire timeline. You're trying to set a time frame, and that's not going to happen, Turner told Lowell, accusing the defense attorney of not understanding how gun life is. He's like, how gun shop life is. You've probably never been in one, but I can't tell you exactly when that happened because it's just kind of an ebb and flow. There's people coming. It's like, when did you get your order from a restaurant? Like, you can't explain exactly when it's going to be or what happened. It's ebb and flow of a gun store. It's busy. He's not the only customer there. When Lowell asked him to walk through all of his actions after running the background check, Turner said he filled out the form with the rest of the information, which can only be filled out after the background check is run. He says, okay, well, there's your 16 minutes. That's 16 minutes. That's what happened there. I write slow. I was writing. As Lowell continued, the defense attorney, to ask Turner to walk through the timeline of the sale, Turner grew frustrated at the repetitive questions and he burst out. He says, I put on my ritual robes and I went and I sat in a marble room like you're a moron. When the prosecution started its cross-examination, Leo Weiss asked Turner to confirm he's there under subpoena. So you don't want to be here, right? Right. You're here under the defense subpoena? Right. They made you be here? Right. Turner confirmed and said, that's a whole mess of stuff right there. Yeah, I don't want to be involved in this. Complaining the defense team couldn't be on time for anything. Says, I tried to cooperate with them, but they couldn't be on time for anything. Weiss asked Turner if he's spoken or met with the defense today. He's like, they wanted me to, but they weren't on time for anything. He says, I should be sleeping right now because I work nights and I'm here having to defend this lying crackhead. Then he's now off. They bring out Ron Palimere. He's on the stand. He's been the owner of Star Quest Shooters for 12 years. So they bring the gun store owner in. He says, well, my responsibilities, general operations, sales, ordering products, all sorts of stuff. I never actually do the sales though. What were you doing on October 12th? Well, I was in and out of the store. When Hunter entered the store, he said that he was next door at another business that he also owned at the time. So I was called over. Someone came over and got me. Anytime there were certain celebrities, I'll call them and they called me over. So when he returned to the store, he went through the back door and did not see Hunter Biden at any point. Hey man, we got Hunter Biden here, like the vice president's son, trying to buy a gun. You want to come check it out? He did interact with Jason Turner though and Gordon Cleveland. He says, what? He was here? Cleveland came back. There was a discussion of whether it was okay to use Hunter's passport as a form of ID. They asked me if it was okay. He said he was trying to get the sale finished and didn't think much of his decision to allow the use of the passport. I was trying not to hold the sale up. Why we had the passport on. We were wondering about that on Locals. Why was he carrying his passport around? So you have Naomi Biden now is the next witness. Daddy calls daughter to defend him. The eldest daughter, Naomi Biden, is now taking the witness stand. She began her testimony and she says, I'm Naomi, the daughter, including where she lives, her job, education, family. She's the daughter of Hunter and Kathleen. Lowell asked if she had any siblings as well. Yeah, 2 sisters and a brother who I love. She answers the questions quietly. She testified that she visited with her dad and with her now husband, Peter, in the summer of 2018. Her dad was in rehab. She met her dad at a coffee shop. They had lunch where they met his sober coach. Hunter Biden's lawyer, Abbe, asked for the name of the rehab facility. She couldn't immediately recall it, prompting Lowell to ask if it was called The View. Yeah, it was. Sorry, I'm nervous. After visiting her father in California, Naomi said that she sent him a text saying, "I was so proud of you," and proud that she was able to introduce him to Peter, her new husband. Hunter could be seen swiping away tears as his daughter testified, the most emotion he's shown publicly throughout this trial. Oh, that's so poetic. Give him an Oscar. Naomi says her dad seemed hopeful in October 2018. He was trying to sober up. He was doing great. At some point at the end of 2018, the month he bought the gun, Naomi and her then boyfriend took her dad's truck, which is in DC at the time, up to New York. They were moving in together. At some point, her father drove up to New York to visit her and get the truck back. So Hunter came back to come get his car. Naomi testified that her dad seemed hopeful when she saw him in New York in October, the month he bought the gun. After their visit, they switched cars. Hunter took his truck back and his daughter kept Joe Biden's Cadillac. She testified that at the time she borrowed the truck, the interior was in good condition, wasn't messy at all. No, I didn't see crack anywhere. Was there any paraphernalia strewn about the Cadillac when you used it? Drugs? No. The car was in good condition. There was no laundry or trash in the car. It got it detailed. And after visiting her father, Hunter, in California, Naomi says she sent him a text saying she was so proud of him and proud that he was able to introduce him. She was able to introduce him to Peter. As far as you know, he went back to rehab after that. Naomi says, yeah. There's Naomi and her husband, Peter, and now asks her about the drug use. Did you first become aware that your dad was struggling with addiction, Naomi? She says, I knew he was struggling with addiction after my uncle died. Brother, things got bad. I can relate to that. I can totally relate to that in my own experience, so I can understand that. Wise appeared to call into question whether Naomi could definitively say her father was using drugs at any particular time, specifically October 2018. She explained that in the broader time period that included that year, she understood that he was struggling with addiction. Now, you never saw him where he was using, right? Wise asked in several ways before Naomi Biden eventually said, no, I never saw him use, which is kind of a weird question to draw out from a government prosecutor. Asked if she would recognize whether he was using or not, she said, I don't know. When he was using, it's fair to say you wouldn't know what that looks like then. I guess not. So there you go. That's why, because he wanted to clear that out. So you couldn't tell either way, right? No, I guess not. So maybe he was using and you just didn't know. Yeah, maybe. Okay, so that's the new couple, and testimony continues. Leah Weiss is now also questioning, so this is on cross, about text messages that she exchanged with Hunter. Oh, you want to talk about some text messages, huh? How about this trip that he was taking to New York? Now, the messages ultimately did not get entered into evidence, but they did offer to refresh Naomi's memory. Wise asked her if she remembered receiving a text from her dad shortly before midnight on October 17th asking if she's awake. Hunter says, hey daughter, you awake? Late. She didn't respond until much later, closer to 2 a.m., and said she had fallen asleep earlier. Hunter then responded asking if her now husband Peter could bring the truck back to 57th and 5th to swap cars. What on earth? Why? At 2 in the morning? Why do you need to swap cars at 2 in the morning? Nothing good happens at 2 in the morning. Mama taught you that. That's what the timestamp says, she says, but I don't recall it being that late. Do you know what your father was doing at 2 o'clock in the morning and why he was asking for the car then? No, I don't. I don't remember any specific messages except that they exchanged cars with her dad and he still seemed good and I was hopeful. So after Hunter's 2 a.m. text asking for the truck, Naomi replied, right now? Like now? For what? He didn't respond after that. Yeah, wonder why. So testimony continues. Hunter Biden apologized to his daughter that he was so unreachable. Then on the afternoon of October 18th, Naomi told her father that she was in Brooklyn, but Peter could bring the car to him to swap. She also texted her dad asking if she would see him before he left and added a sad face emoji. Am I going to see you before you go? I'm really sorry, Dad. I can't take this. I don't know what to say. I just miss you and want to hang out with you, she texted her father. Terrible. According to Wise, Hunter said, I'm sorry I've been so unreachable. It's not fair to you. Asked if she knew why he was so unreachable. Why was he missing? Do you know? No. Did he say? No. Did he tell you he was meeting with someone named Frankie? No. Did he tell you he had given Frankie an access code to his Wells Fargo account? No. Frankie's the name that Zoe Keaston gave for a drug dealer that met Hunter at the Four Seasons Hotel in New York while the two of them were staying there in the winter of 2018. Testimony continues. Naomi is now done. She hugs her father, Hunter. The court breaks for lunch. It's a quick hug. And Sarah tells us it's just a quick hug and not the regular big Biden family embraces that we've been seeing up until now. Thank you for that commentary, Sarah Fitzpatrick. Beautiful writing. She appeared to wipe away a tear as she walked down the aisle of the courtroom, down with her husband. In the hallway, she wore big sunglasses. At one point, she exchanged a hug with a family friend. Now, normally when the court goes to break, there are big hugs and fist bumps and high fives and laughter among the Biden family and supporters. But following Naomi's testimony, they didn't do that. Everyone seemed silent and they had serious faces. Okay, great. So Naomi said she's never used drugs. Before she left the stand, she got asked by Leo Weiss whether she'd ever seen any drug paraphernalia or remnants in her father's Ford Raptor. Did you ever see anything? No. You put any drug paraphernalia in the truck? Did you put anything in the truck? No. Have you yourself ever used drugs? No. Everybody was very uncomfortable. Grandma Jill Biden squirreling in her seat, getting a little bit nervous over there. And the court now breaks for lunch. And so big updates there in the Biden trial. We'll see what's happening here, but this is only the beginning for the lawfare battles that are happening in this country. Biden's trial here is rigged. We'll see if there is more coming his way now that Congress has sent over a criminal referral. Time will tell. If you like this video, would love it if you subscribed and liked our channel. Be great to have you back here. We got another awesome segment coming up right now talking about Fannie Willis, Cassidy Hutchinson, and the TDS Spice Girl, Alyssa Farah. We'll see you over there on that one right now.